Jochen Hahn and Antonio Albacete. The two of them go flying through the right-hand side, then the left-hand side. Jochen Hahn around the outside, and Lucas Hahn, no father and son, come together on the exit of turn one.
And the best thing about this is the fact that it's still a 15-minute sprint race. They've not extended the time of the race. It's still just like, it's going to be, what, 7 laps of Scotch?
Yeah. We get to the real nitty-gritty of motorsport.
Crymsun and Smith are side by side for the title in the very final race of the season. So as they go back up the hill towards the Schumacher. Nils Core clips the back at 10. Simon Povey clips the side of Nils Core. They go over the hill and Povey's around.
Oh my god, that's going to definitely be the thumbnail, isn't it? Hit me in the right direction.
Thank you so much.
23 cars.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Goes to the right, Silas goes to the left, across the line, it's going to be... Which one's it going to be in six? Tim's going to get him to the line, he's not going to get it. Oh no, Pete Newman's around.
Pretty tight, Jake Blackwell round the outside, he's going to keep it there, and now he's going to be on the inside.
Okay, Simon Price sees a gap in the middle, decides that no, that would be mental. Big accident, Simon. Cam Dance wins, Silas Craig Frolic wins, Jake Blackwell wins, Cranstone to take the win on his Jesper Eriksson, two-time champion of the CDM Formula 1 World Championship is Cam Dance. And what a fantastic race, amazing. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Chaz Draycott Media, and welcome to the second round of the third season of the CDM Formula 1 World Championship, sponsored by Bottle of Scotch Racing and Derbyshire Holiday Homes. It's great to be here at the wonderful, what used to be known as Thai Circuit Aida, and now, of course, known to us all as Okayama. I am joined by the wonderful Ed May in the commentary box for this second round of the season. And Ed, this is a circuit we've not actually commentated on that much, but we've certainly both raced around here a lot, haven't we? Welcome back to Formula 1.
Yes, thank you very much, Chaz, and thank you everyone for getting here for what is a amazing championship. We've obviously had the first round, the season opener at Phillip Island, and like you say, here at Okayama, a track that I think pretty much everyone has driven their first few laps in iRacing around at some point. It's definitely I think a track that I did my first ever race on iRacing at, actually. Not the place I won my first ever race. That was at the horrible Phillip Island Jefferson course. Not Phillip Island, sorry. It was the...
Summit Point,
what's
it
the
would
other
have
one?
been.
Summit Point Jefferson, that was the one.
Yeah.
Horrible track. Thankfully, we're not going there this season. We've got an amazing calendar lined up, but here at Okayama, this is a circuit that's really going to test the drivers. I think a bit more in terms of the heavy braking, the hairpins, a bit more overtaking opportunities here than there would have been at Phillip Island. And well, we didn't need that many overtaking opportunities last time out, did we, Chaz? Because there was still plenty of action out on the track.
There really was, and this is how the championship looks then coming into this second round of the season. It is mighty close in the teams championship, as you can see, with 17 points for Williams, Ferrari and Benetton, but it was Jesper Eriksson who took the first victory of the season ahead of Aaron Smith in the Ferrari and Sam Fitzpatrick in the Benetton. We had 5 different manufacturers in the top 5 positions, which was one of the most incredible things to see. But it was very close between the likes of Taylor Adams, Jake Cranstone and Ian Stitchbury. I'm interested to see how Lee Aberdeen gets on tonight in that McLaren as well. No points scored for him after a big old shunt with Kevin Zemstra. So I'm excited to see whether Lee can manage to bring some more points to the board in, well, start his season, I should say, after having, of course, the fastest pace in pre-season testing. It's now time, though, for qualifying to get underway here at Okayama. It's been a long time, hasn't it, Ed, since you and I have both seen this format, but it's great to have the one-shot qualifying back in full force again.
Yeah, definitely. It allows us to dedicate as much time possible on the broadcast just to focus on each driver's lap, see how they're getting on. We can obviously have constant action as well. There's never really any downtime because as soon as one lap's done, we're immediately on to the next. And I think the drivers do feel that pressure. At least I did when I was racing in this championship. I think I raced in the first iteration of the Formula One World Championship. And so you do definitely know that everyone's eyes will be on you as you're doing your laps. And it's where a lot of the time I bottled it on numerous occasions, let's be honest. I know I'm going to say it before you can get the word in, Chaz, but it is still such a unique thing. And obviously, while it didn't work necessarily the one-shot qualifying in terms of Formula One's approach to it, I think in the sim it's a lot more, I guess, applicable in these scenarios. It feels a lot more at home here.
Yeah, it definitely does. It really, really does. And I think there's something about this track, I don't know what it is, it just always feels like it gives off a good race to me. And I thought it's one that we cannot miss out of the calendar. And here we are, we've got Danny Weir in the Prost Peugeot and Francois Brandet in the Tyrrell Ford making their way around the circuit for their first laps. But you're absolutely right though about the pressure, because not only is everybody watching you on the broadcast here, but all the other drivers are watching as well, because they're in the session and they can keep an eye on you. So you've got to mind out for it, really. We've got more drivers lining up at the end of the pit lane. You can only just not see them to the side there, actually, but they're just on the left-hand side of shot as Francois Brandet comes down the start-finish straight, and he's going to be the first driver to start putting a qualifying lap on the board. Then you can see the other guys queuing up, ready to go. Francois in the Tyrrell. He's going to be, like I say, the first one. Danny Weir now just coming around the final corner. He's left quite a big gap, actually, to the car ahead, but he's playing it very safe. They tend to leave about 10 seconds between each other. But now he's got going, you'll see, look, that now the Minardis are going to come out on the circuit. So that's Simon Price in car 23. And then leaving a little bit more of a gap is Philip Miles in the other Prost. So he will fill that space. This is just to make sure they don't get any slipstream off one another. Nobody can help each other in qualifying. And I must say a big thank you to Martin Kenyon and Matt Hoyland for choreographing these sessions. These guys put in a massive amount of work to make sure that it runs smoothly too, and I'm very grateful to them. Let's talk more about this circuit though, Ed, because in particular this final sector that Francois is just coming up to now, mighty difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, especially in these little Pro Mazdas, they're so prone to that sort of slow speed over rotation as you turn it into the corner. You can see just how careful Francois is having to be on the steering inputs to not let the thing loop it all around. It loves to over-rotate, this little thing. It's a bit like a go-kart. If you put on suddenly too much steering lock, the thing is going to rotate around. You'll be facing the wrong direction going backwards into the barriers. So it's a deft hand, but you can see that the best drivers can sort of manage that a little bit better. They can really just get the car initially turned in, and then they do the corrections afterwards to try and keep it on the straight and narrow. Here we go then, Francois Brandet with the first time over the line, going currently fastest in the session. We'll see what Danny Weir can do though, if he's able to improve. He's not, he's slots in behind the Frenchman.
9
Francois
tenths
doing
off
very
as
well in that Tyrrell Ford, actually a very impressive time, at least in comparison to Danny Weir. Obviously, as the session goes along, drivers higher up the championship order will be brought out into the circuit for their qualifying laps. So it's again a little bit of a benefit from being the final driver out on the circuit, just because you've got that extra bit of rubber laid down. But of course, there's no real argument to say that it's not an unfair advantage. It's an advantage that you've earned by being the best at that very moment in the championship.
Yeah, indeed. We've got a number of cars still out on the circuit. Simon Price and then Philip Miles. But interestingly enough, though, behind them, we now have Lee Aberdeen in the McLaren. A very early showing for a McLaren in this qualifying session. Lee next up, after having a bit of a torrid time at Phillip Island. He had a bit of contact with, I think it was Aaron Smith, where he had a bit of a spin. And then later on in the session, he had a rejoin in front of Kevin Zemstra. Actually, no, it wasn't. I think it was Jan Stitchbury he had contact with, actually, in the earlier stages, and then the rejoiners. Oh no, Philip Miles is off. Philip Miles has spun it on his lap, and he had 2 purple sectors on the way to that as well. So that's an invalidated lap, and I think, unfortunately for Philip, I'm having to point this out, that will be the first invalidated lap of the season, as everybody got through cleanly at Phillip Island. That's a miracle in itself. Across the line goes Simon Price. He's got a purple sector in there. Another green one later. Is that pole position? No, it's not. 0.23 off of the back of the Tyrrell.
If it'll make Philip feel any better, I think I had more invalid laps than valid laps over my time in the championship, so he'll be fine. He'll be able to start from the back, but of course get some good pace up through the order in these races. You've got a lot more time as well to make that headway, don't you, Chaz, compared to last season where the races were certainly a little bit shorter than they are here tonight.
They absolutely are. Now, Lee Aberdeen is on his way out onto the lap, but I think Rob Lundgren's gone a little bit early out of the pit lane. Yes, he is there, actually. He's just pulled over to the side, so he moves out of the way. I don't think Lee can do what usual Formula 1 drivers would do there and say they were impeded, even though the other car was 15 metres away. But Lee is going to be pushing. He is going to be hoping to sort of prove a point after having that miserable first round of the season, isn't he, Ed? It's not a great place to be on the back foot, but I think we're going to see a number of purple sectors here, and it's going to be a bit of time before anybody else beats them.
Yeah, definitely. The only thing for Lee is that he doesn't necessarily have that time to chase. He isn't going to be completely aware of what those drivers in that sort of championship fight are going to be doing. And we'll only really get, I think, a good picture of that when maybe some drivers like Kevin Zemstra make their rival out onto the circuit. Obviously, Kevin had his own struggles, didn't he, in that last race? I think these two did make contact.
Yes, indeed.
So we'll have to see, of course, what these two rivals can do. But first off, the pair of them is Lee Aberdeen, and as you would expect from the driver that was fastest in the pre-season, he is currently setting purple sectors across the board into now the final corner. Needs to be very careful that he doesn't throw away all of his hard work by running wide. Just about keeps it in the line, those two tyres on the red and white curb, keeping him within the bounds of the circuit. And as he crosses the line,
lovely,
second and a little bit extra quicker than Francois Brandet, brings him to the top of the pile, and that is going to be a time that won't be beaten for at least a while in this qualifying session to come, as we see now Hatfield over the line in the Minardi Ford, only fourth fastest on that second row.
Yep, we have then behind them Rob Lundgren, who had to wait a little bit just to make sure that he hadn't gone too early. He's crossing the line now in the Tyrrell, but also on the circuit, Ed, is possibly one of the prettiest Formula 1 cars ever made. The Arrows, the 1998 Arrows A19. John Tusting behind the wheel, wearing a Mika Salo replica lid as well, just to go with it. And that's one thing that a lot of these drivers have done this season. If they've worn the replica lids of the drivers that were in those cars that year. They have really put extra effort into this. It's great.
Yeah, it is a lovely little touch from John Tusting, and you mentioned the fact that it is, of course, the 1998 season that we will be following in terms of the liveries. And I told you this before we went live. I'm going to date myself a little bit, but I was not even alive for nearly every single round of this championship. It was only the final round of the 1998 Formula 1 World Championship on the 1st of November where I was alive and present in the world. I don't think mentally I was anywhere because, my brain wasn't filled with anything, but my nappies were definitely filling. I can tell you that for free. Anyway, it was, again, I can say that I was alive to watch Mika Häkkinen be crowned the Formula 1 World Champion for the first time.
That's all that matters. That's all that matters. No matter what you see in the 98 season, as long as you saw Häkkinen win it, that is all that matters. So, Lee Aberdeen has set the benchmark early on here. We've got green sectors coming in from Rob Lundgren and John Tusting, so it shows that they are improving their pace lap after lap. Lundgren crosses the line then for Tyrrell. Where does he go on the board? Actually bottom at the moment, 2.5 seconds off for Rob Lundgren. Couldn't quite piece the lap together there. John Tusting now crosses the line in car 17, and he goes into 5th place, so he's behind the Minardis of Simon Price and Connor Hatfield, only ahead of Danny Weir and Rob Lundgren. Francois Brandet holding his own in the Tyrrell there, which is good to see. And now we have the first of the Saubers out there on track, Ed, with the Johnny Herbert helmet, Martin Kenyon.
Yes, in fact, actually, I think I was in Johnny Herbert's Sauber. I think it would have been for my entry, at least my time in the
97
Formula 1 World Championship. So it's great to have this my old car being driven by Martin Kenyon, a good friend of ours as well, Chaz, isn't he? A driver that we've certainly commentated on and has been part of the Chaz Draycott Media family for quite some time. We'll see if he can do it justice.
We've also got Stuart Clark out there in the Stuart, funnily enough. Lovely looking machine. He's effectively in Rubens Barrichello's car, which is the all-white one with the white wing supports and the white sort of helmet surround. The other one of the stewards tonight is actually not being driven by Jakub Szymanski this time, but a returnee to the series. Christian Rose is going to be back with us, which is lovely to see. Christian, one of the front runners in previous seasons of Formula 1. Congratulations to Christian and his lovely partner, by the way, on the birth of their little un recently. Little un is now growing up quickly, and Christian has had to be on little un duties ahead of this, so he will not be qualifying, so the Stewart will be starting from the back of the grid. Hopefully, though, this Stewart will not be, and Mr. Clark rounds the penultimate corner now to complete his time. Kenyon's just crossed the line, and I don't think his lap counted, so he's going to be starting from further back. Ben Chalcraft did actually sort of predict a number of non-valid laps or invalid laps as, wow, good stuff by Stuart Clark, half a second off Lee Aberdeen. That's not that's nothing to be sniffed at.
Yeah, I was going to say that time by Francois Brandet was really impressive as well. So for Stuart Clark to best that, it could be a very good evening for the Stewarts. Now, here's the first of the Williams Mechachrome cars. Tom Stanley out on the circuit. Just wanted to touch as well on Martin Kenyon. Talking about my valid laps, it seems that there's something up with that car. It's magnetised to the barriers and can't keep between the white lines. Don't blame yourself, Martin. Blame the car. Here we go, though. Tom Stanley now into this. God, it's so just fast-paced. You don't expect it because of just how tight of an angle, but because of the way that the car is able to compress down on the sort of elevation changes it rises up the hill, it can take a lot more speed than you would expect. Here's a corner that I think we can see a lot of drivers maybe making mistakes, locking up onto the brakes. You're going from basically the highest speed possible, having to go to one of the slowest areas of the circuit and through a revolver as well. It's horribly sort of almost off camber as you're trying to carve it through these lefts. But Tom Stanley navigates them just about as well as he can do.
It's really tricky, this circuit, because the amount of elevation change through a lot of these corners, and it's the legendary slippy Japanese tarmac as well, as Stanley gets those rear wheels really hanging out. He's got the other Sauber on the circuit, Ben Chalcraft. He's in his usual reverse Damon Hill lid, which really stands out and looks fantastic. He had a bit of a rough first round as well. He actually had contact with Tom. They both made their way back through the order to complete the race. Stanley's kicked up a little bit of gravel at the end of the lap, but does a final purple sector and goes second fastest. Very well done to Tom Stanley. That's the sort of pace we expected from the Williams driver. What about Ben Chalcraft? He's making his way to the line. He's not quite challenging the guys at the front. It may be enough for fourth place for him, and it is. Fourth place for Ben Chalcraft. Within a second, though, of Lee Aberdeen. That'll be pretty rewarding, I have to think, actually, Ed, because when you've seen the pace that Lee's had, you know that he's one of the yardsticks to try and keep up with.
Yeah, definitely. There are lots of drivers that you can sort of mark yourself off of, and just having a look and seeing up and down the field that sort of what drivers are to come. And obviously, that time by Lee Aberdeen, very impressive, but again, Tom Stanley only being a few tenths off bodes very well for his hopes tonight. Jack Reeve, though, we're following him out on circuit. Second of the Arrows to make it onto the circuit is Kevin Zemstra as well. First of the Ferraris now out on the road.
Yeah, Kevin for the third season running, getting the one car that he didn't want and ended up in a Ferrari yet again. He again didn't have the cleanest of first races of the season, but he's going to be hoping that he can change those fortunes round two onwards. He's done a purple first sector as well. Only green in sector two, but he'll still be pleased with the pace that he is showing off right now. Jack Reeve ahead of him is, I believe, actually, Jack Reeve was the 9th placed finisher in the first round. Kevin finished in 8th place. Points go all the way down to 12th. Stuart Clark was the final point scorer at Phillip Island. Another green sector goes in by Kevin Zemstra. No purple there. God, this thing looks so good making its way around the last corner. Jack really using all of the road and more. That is a corner where you've got to be so careful of that curb because it doesn't run perfectly straight to the straight, if that makes sense. He's crossed the line and goes 5th fastest for Jack Reeve. What about Kevin Zemstra in the Ferrari? He crosses the line now. Does he dethrone Lee Aberdeen? No, he goes 3rd fastest behind the Williams of Tom Stanley as well. So Tom's done an excellent job there to outdo Kevin by a good couple of tenths. And now then, as Paul Jeffrey said, everyone be quiet. There's a Jordan on the screen. But this is the Ralph Schumacher-laden Matt Hoyland Jordan Mugen Honda this time, Ed. Lovely looking race car, though, and it's the car everybody wanted, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a car that I was hoping to be in as well for my foray in the Formula One World Championship, but I'll tell you what, the Sauber is not a bad car to be a part of, is it, Chaz? It's, again, a very pretty machine. As we have the Benetton Playlife, driven by Jan Stitchbury, currently on our screens. Jan, again, another driver that we're glad to have on board, isn't it? Isn't he, Chaz? Obviously, missed out on seeing them too much in Evolution Sim Racing GT3 Challenge, where they first graced our screens, but here at least performed the Formula One World Championship.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to see the Benettons once again. We have Ralf Schumacher, Matt Hoyland, currently, overdoing it into the hairpin, and even though it's going to remain a valid lap, it's little moments like that can knock your confidence. It's sideways again. Now he's heated up those rears. Once you've done it in that Pro Mazda, Formula Mazda, Star Mazda, whatever it's called this week, it is a real handful for the rest of the lap, so Hoyland has to be mighty cautious. He's going to be kicking himself with that one as he heads down the start-finish straight. Can't show us his frustrations yet as he heads to the line. It's not a particularly terrible lap, though, but it puts him down in 8th place behind Francois Brown. Oh, he's never going to live that down. Francois will not let him forget that one.
Francois will certainly not. It just means the efforts done by Francois earlier on in the session are all the more important now, especially considering he didn't have that same amount of rubber laid down as Jan Stitchbury up into 5th place.
Yeah, but behind Stuart Clark there. Stuart putting in a great time in his Stuart, funnily enough. Matt Hoyland down in 9th. It's a bit of a topsy-turvy session in some places this. Lee Aberdeen still quickest with a 1:25.020. But here's a man we've commentated on a lot before, Ed. Jake Cranstone, Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge champion, Formula One runner-up. Formula One runner-up and Boring Cars runner-up as well. Jake, massively fast in anything you put him in, and he's over the moon to get a Jordan and wear a Damon Hill helmet for the season. And this man as well from the SRM GT4 Challenge, Taylor Adams. We're really getting into the nitty-gritty now, aren't we?
Yes, we really are. This is, I think it's fair to say, the business end of the night, where a lot of the heavier hitters are out. Obviously, Jake Cranstone, a driver that we're very familiar with, yet to find a car that he isn't quick in, and he's certainly very quick in these little Formula Mazdas. He's now just going through Revolver. Look on board, the attitude of the car now in towards these sort of two hairpin corners, one after the other, hugging it a little bit tighter on the way out of the corner to really open up the next right-hander. Just need to be careful on the throttle once more through this right-hander, trying to keep it pinned and pick your moment, carry as much speed as you dare, try not to run wide and throw away all of the work that you put in earlier. It's nicely over the curbs on the exit as well.
It's really
nice
easy.
Clean exit from Jake there.
Yeah, nicely done indeed. It's really easy to go early into that final corner, isn't it? He's still not fastest, 1,000th of a second ahead of Tom Stanley as well. Only just beats the Williams to second on the grid. What about Taylor Adams? Can he make it a McLaren provisional front row? No, he can't. 4th place for Taylor Adams as well. So Tom Stanley and Lee Aberdeen so far have absolutely done the business. Completely done the business. I think somebody somewhere has either gone early or really late here. Sam Fitzpatrick's only just crossed the line, but Aaron Smith, I think, has gone mighty early because he's about to complete what is apparently his timed lap, actually. I'm not quite sure on that one.
We'll have a look and see, unless it's maybe an error of him crossing the line maybe in the pits or something, and it's marking this as a second lap. Because I can't see any time coming through for him. I don't think that was a... No. His Sector 1 time didn't come up as valid at all, so I think that was just an outlap. Yeah, for some reason on our timing software it showed up as second. So I don't think he's done anything wrong there, Aaron. It's just maybe a case of iRacing throwing a wobbly for whatever reason. But at least we have him out on track now. Sam Fitzpatrick will be the focus for the moment, though. And now just through Revolver, this left-hander is so just treacherous, and the car constantly wants to just drag you out wide every opportunity it gets through there.
Yeah, it's real scary stuff. But look at the way that Sam Fitzpatrick is setting the sectors right now, though, in this Benetton. He is really on a mission. Can he continue that mission to success through these final corners? He put it on pole at Phillip Island, said he didn't know how he'd done it. It was his fastest ever lap around that circuit in that car. Now he comes to the line. Oh, it's going to be close. It's very close. 13. I held my breath. 13 thousandths of a second, but Lee Aberdeen still holds it, Ed. Wow.
That's really impressive, isn't it? Just ahead of Fitzpatrick. But Lee Aberdeen, again, he's really showing why he has the pace to go on and do something very special this season. Aaron Smith in the Ferrari goes on to the third row of the grid. Not quite enough to get ahead of Tom Stanley. And then we've got Jesper Eriksson, the final driver, out on track at the moment, and the one that hasn't got anyone else behind him to worry about. So it's just going to be Jesper in this batch.
Yeah, Jesper absolutely caning it now. We're going to get potentially 19 of the 22 drivers with clean laps. So they've all done very, very well, because this is not the circuit that is easy to keep clean. Jesper Eriksson, purple in Sector 1. I just want to reiterate, he shouldn't be number 15 tonight. He should be number 0, but we've tried a second format of that, and iRacing does not like it. So Jesper's number will change for future rounds. Apologies. But this is very, very good stuff from Jesper so far with that first purple sector. Green in Sector 2, so that's his personal best, but not quicker than the fastest sector set by anyone through there so far, which I still think is Lee Aberdeen at 19.8. No, Tom Stanley, 18.8 seconds actually. So he's been really, looking down it, people have been going quicker and quicker, but it does take a few laps to get these tyres up to temperature. So if on their third lap, their in-laps are actually sometimes quicker than anything else. But what are you reckoning now, Ed? Are you a betting man? Where does Jesper Eriksson go? I'm thinking third here.
I'm thinking he could be on the front row. He might be able to get ahead of Lee Aberdeen here. This is going to be a really important final corner. The rest of the lap did look really impressive as he goes up to the line and breaks the beam. This could be enough. I think he's got just ahead of Lee Aberdeen. Wow, not just. He's got nearly 3/10 on him.
Wow. Amazing stuff by Jesper Eriksson, the championship leader. He's going to annoy a few people by not going all the way around. Look at that lot sat in the pit lane there. How beautiful is that? But Jesper Eriksson, wow, he takes it then. Incredible stuff. And a second pole position winner of the season. So we've got 2 from 2. And there is going to be, well, no cars in the pit lane now as it all ticks over. But Jesper and Lee, Sam, Jake and Tom, there are 4 different manufacturers in the top 4. Yeah, sorry, I just had to double check that then. But wow, very, very close stuff indeed. That is remarkable, to say the least. Absolutely remarkable. But Jesper Eriksson will be buzzing with that one. Lee Aberdeen will be a little bit gutted though there, Ed, because he went out very early on and made the most of it, didn't he?
Yeah, he was really, really impressive, it's fair to say, Lee. After the disappointment, he's bounced back in the best possible way, but now he needs to convert that qualifying performance into the race result. They've got, what is it, I think just under 50 laps, it's 47 laps here tonight. They'll need to get through, obviously, with that mandatory pit stop. Just the one pit stop, isn't it, as well, Chaz? I think before we were planning on maybe seeing if it was going to be 2. But I think for the rest of the season, as it was in previous iterations of the Formula 1 Championship, it is going to be just the one pit stop. But the drivers have a little bit of a warm-up session now, Chaz, so to get more acquainted with the track state and see if they need to sort of tweak their driving styles a little bit between now and the race.
Yeah, that's it. They just have to get out there, well, light up some plumes of smoke, but fantastic stuff from our championship leader then, Jesper Eriksson. He'll be buzzing about taking pole position for the second round of the season. Once again, big thank you to Bottle of Scotch Racing. Thanks also to Derbyshire Holiday Homes and JL Race Aesthetics. James Leggett put in a remarkable amount of work for the first season of this championship to bring the liveries all together. And then obviously that formed the basis for the second ones. If you bear with us just a couple of minutes here, everybody, we're going to set the cameras to auto for a minute. Ed and I are just going to have a quick break and we'll be back in a few minutes' time for round number 2 of the CDM Formula 1 World Championship. Hello again, everybody. Chaz Draycott and Ed May here for the CDM Boremula 1 World Championship, round number 2 here at Okayama in Japan for the first Japanese Boar Prix of the season. We have multiple visits to Japan throughout this championship. Isn't it great to see these little things skating around this circuit? They were a very interesting qualifying session. Put this man, Jesper Eriksson, on pole position though, and it looks like it's getting feisty already here, Ed, but this sort of racecraft practice is oh so important, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Obviously, you can see what a tasty little out of this is. Jesper Eriksson just in the best seats possible to watch this side-by-side action. But again, the drivers have been also doing a little bit of the warm-up, trying to try the sort of starting procedure.
Yeah, Danny Weir in particular was practicing starts earlier. As they go 3 wide into turn 1, Jesper Eriksson takes advantage. This is excellent. I don't want this to end. We've then got Aaron Smith, Jake Cranstone in there as well. Oh, goodness me. Now Jake's in the best seat in the house. He's set the fastest time despite being overtaken. Oh my God, that's a lot of cars in close proximity. Jake backs out of it. Jesper goes down the inside of Aaron. Now he cuts back down the inside. Look at the amount of lock he's putting on. The tyres may become an issue over a 1 hour-ish long race like this. 47 laps of this place. It's a lot of long, smooth corners, isn't it? So it's going to be quite interesting to see how long those tyres last. As Jake Cranstone now goes down the inside, makes it 3 wide. How are they doing that? That is excellent driving by all three. But this is what we mean about Boremula 1 and the respect and fun that these drivers have. They all give each other so much room while also getting miraculously close to one another. It's epic entertainment.
It really is. Jesper Eriksson now trying to weave and move around, darting left and right, just trying to throw off, I mean, if he can, the Ferrari chasing him down. See, it's just about, isn't it, managing as much as he can. I thought Jake Cranstone was going to do his own. I was astronomically silly then, but no, he's decided to dip into the pits. But now takes that beautiful Jordan into the pit lane as well. We've got someone doing donuts there. That's Jan Stitchbury.
Yeah, Jan, never a subtle driver at all. Having a bit of fun in the pit lane. Maybe just warming up and putting a bit of rubber down in his pit box. I don't know. He's showing that the pit lane is very wide as well as the circuit here at Okayama. Fantastic list of drivers, or at least a big line of them just down there, all ready to go. But any moment now they will all disappear. Warm-up is now finishing, and we are going to get ready for round number 2 of the CDM Boremula 1 World Championship. Thanks again to Bottle of Scotch Racing and also to Derbyshire Holiday Homes for their sponsorship of this championship. It would not be the same without you, and we really do hope that you all enjoy the show. So, what do you reckon, Ed? What are your predictions here?
Action non-stop in towards turn 1. See if Lee Aberdeen is able to put one over on Jesper Eriksson and get into the lead, because that's what he needs after that disappointment in the first round.
Well, it's Jesper Eriksson on pole position, Lee Aberdeen alongside him on the front row, Sam Fitzpatrick and Jake Cranstone make up row 2. Then we have Tom Stanley and Aaron Smith on the third row, Taylor Adams and Kevin Zemstra on row 4, and then it's Stuart Clark and Jan Stitchbury completing the top 10. Ben Chalcraft and Jack Reeve in the Sauber and the Arrows side by side on row 6, ahead of Francois Brandet. I'm just going to say this out loud for him, ahead of Matt Hoyland in 14th place. Simon Price 15th, Connor Hatfield 16th, John Tusting 17th ahead of Danny Weir. Then it's Rob Lundgren in the Tyrrell, and the drivers that did not set times: Christian Rose in the Stewart, Philip Miles in the Prost, and Martin Kenyon in the Sauber Petronas. Well, we're getting ready to go now, Ed. Revs will rise, as will ours up here in the commentary box. And round number 2 of the CDM Boremula 1 World Championship is go from Okayama. It looks like Lee Aberdeen got a lot of wheel spin. Look at that grid fanning out. Look at Kevin Zemstra on the left-hand side. He jumps one of the Jordans. I think Aaron Smith tries to do the same as well. Kevin Zemstra gets down the inside. Sam Fitzpatrick has gained a place. Oh, there's a car around in the background. It is John Tusting off for an early bath. But a great start from our pole sitter Jesper Eriksson. The battle is going on here, though. Tom Stanley, Jake Cranstone and Aaron Smith.
Yeah, here we go. Tom Stanley just trying to hang it around the outside in his Williams. Might help him with the run out. Well, he's getting a nice little bit of slipstream, isn't he, though, from the Ferrari up ahead. That is Kevin Zemstra. But It's a great getaway from Jesper Eriksson as well. Sam Fitzpatrick taking advantage of Lee Aberdeen in towards turn 1. Lee down into 3rd. Once more, Tom Stanley now trying to fight his way through, getting up the inside of the Benetton. No, the Jordan, and then chooses to slot single file. But a relatively safe start, isn't it, Chaz?
Yeah, with the dramas further back, Simon Price and Connor Hatfield have lost a few places each as well. And the likes of Christian Rose, Philip Miles, Martin Kenyon have all gained 5 places each. Stuart Clark has had a bit of a nightmare start. He's lost 5 positions. Wonder if he's got any damage on his car. Can't see any at this moment in time, but yeah, I'm going to know he's going to be hoping that the car is all good to continue on. He's got his teammate Christian Rose right behind him, actually. Christian, the super sub for this series, and he is now trying to make up ground for the Stewart team. But we move back to the front of the pack, and it is Jesper Eriksson that leads the way in the Williams. 2nd place, Sam Fitzpatrick. Then the two of Clarence, Lee Aberdeen ahead of Taylor Adams.
Yeah, let's see if they can maybe try and work together. Obviously, the teammates more in terms of just happenstance, aren't they? They don't really plan who is their teammate, but we do often see, don't we, in Formula 1, the drivers working together with their teammates. I remember I was trying to work at least in close proximity with my teammate, I think it was Adam Hedgecock, way back when, as Rob Lundgren off into the gravel.
Yeah, Martin Kenyon involved. Martin heads into the hairpin. Oh, Rob straight lines it on the brakes. Absolutely pile drives him into the corner. John Tusting went off at turn 1, you'll all remember. This is how it happened for John. He's on the outside. Oh, and he gets a clout there. I think was that Simon Price in the Minardi. Got a big old clout, didn't he? Flipping out. That was a massive hit in the side.
Definitely looked like it was a Minardi.
Just
the 23 of Simon Price.
Almost looked like a little bit of miscommunication, didn't it? John just came in, and Danny Weir, unfortunately, has jumped to the pits and then come back out on the circuit. I'm not quite sure why Danny was seemingly late to the start, but he didn't take the start after all those practice ones he did. Stuart Clark just ahead of his teammate Christian Rose on his debut this season. Oh, in the background, drama. Philip Miles off. Quite literally miles off. Ben Chalcraft, seemingly the guilty party, has waited for him, and that is the 2nd time in a row that Ben Chalcraft has had drama, as now Philip's off again. Maybe gravel on the tyres.
Could have been. Maybe gravel on the tyres, a bit too much steering angle, forces the spin. So let's see from on board with Philip. Or Ben Chalcraft just has a moment by himself.
Yeah.
Philip takes to the gravel more in avoidance than anything else. I don't know if there was contact. If there was, the car seems fine, but then gravel on the tyres.
Wow.
So it's such a slow speed as well. Just has no grip at all. iRacing once again brutal with how they're modelling the grip based on sort of the factors that are around the tyres. If there's water on them or if there's sort of gravel on them, really does simulate real life to a harsh degree.
Look at the amount of dust being kicked up there, beaming in the sunshine out of that final corner. We ride on board with Aaron Smith, finished 3rd in the first round of the season, finds himself down in 8th position at the moment. And let's not forget on top of that the points system in this championship is pretty savage. You get 15 points for a race victory. Sure, you get points all the way down to 12th, but you get 15 for first, then it's 12, then it's 10, so you only gain 3 points over somebody if you finish ahead of them for the win. Then it's 2 points back to 10, and then every position after that is just 1 championship point difference. So all the way down to 12th, which is where we will find at the moment the Frenchman Francois Brandet. He may be behind Matt Hoyland now, which you won't be happy for me to remind you, but he's currently on a trajectory to score points if he finishes here. But right behind him, you'll notice the 2 Stewarts of Stewart, funnily enough, and Christian Rose. This is one of the main things in Formula 1, isn't it, Ed? Look at that slipstream.
Yeah, it's incredibly strong. These little Promasters don't have the most horsepower, as Tom Stanley's off in the gravel, way down the order, gets it up and running, but, well, there's very few times you can find yourself facing that way in that corner, and usually if I was a little bit of contact. We'll see though.
Oh,
yeah, big hit from the Ferrari in behind.
Aaron Smith was the offender there by the look of it. How far back was Aaron? Oh, I think he's just missed his... Yeah, he's innocently missed his braking point there as Aaron, unfortunately. And he nearly has more contact with the Iron Stitchery. Yain's been strangely quiet. Don't know what's up with him at the moment, but he's not made a lot of noise here. Jack Reeve is going well just behind him as well. Jack had a great start to his Boremula 1 season in the opening laps at Phillip Island, but just had an unforced error, had a little spin all on his own. But he's doing the Arrows team proud at the moment. In the teams championship, Arrows do have 4 points thanks to Jack, so he's certainly flying the flag there. John Tusting still fighting it out a bit further down. He's got Martin Kenyon and the other Sauber of Ben Chalcraft behind him. The two Minardis ahead of Connor Hatfield and Simon Price. But at the front, Jesper Eriksson, it doesn't look like he's having to defend necessarily hard at the moment, does it? He's just got the train in behind him with some Benettons, McLarens, Ferraris and Jordans, as you often would have done in 1998.
Yes, as Taylor Adams, and now right in the midst of it, needs to focus on trying to catch up to Lee Aberdeen because he's just starting to lose touch a little bit. McLaren dropping back from the rear of the McLaren up ahead. You can see him behind actually Kevin Zemstra in the Ferrari. Looming ever present. A little half look to the inside I think from Kevin there, more just to try and throw Taylor off his game. Trying to isolate Taylor from that fight up ahead, so then he's going to be a little bit more of an easy target to try and pick off. Further back, talking about isolated, it's got Robbie Lundgren and Philip Miles in their own sort of little battle. The pair of them duking it out for 20th place. Philip Miles in that cross that we saw have those issues earlier, back up and running.
His teammate Danny is still running, by the way, but I think he's having some issues at the moment, as there's some position changes here. Stuart Clark and Francois Brandet having an almighty ding-dong. Stuart goes to the right-hand side of the Frenchman. Tom Stanley wants a bit of this. There's a bit of contact between Stuart and Francois. Tom finds his way past, but I'm not sure he's completely clear. Yes, he is now clear of Stuart Clark, who loses out to Francois. Francois defending that one with all his might. Tom Stanley wants a point-scoring position, and he's going to have to get through Christian Rose if he wants to grab that one. But again, double slipstream here. This could get spicy.
Here we go. Tom Stanley with, like you said, that real big help in the slipstream, but up the inside it isn't Stanley going for it. It's actually going to be Rose that throws Brandet off his game. That's a lovely little move, wasn't it, by Christian Rose? Just knew exactly what to do, just filling the mirrors, and didn't really need to make too much of sort of a job of getting ahead in towards 11th place and focus on attempting to catch up to the pack ahead. But it's that lead battle, isn't it, that basically extends all the way down now in towards that 10th place Matt Hoyland, that's really opened up a gap to the rest of the field.
Yeah, 6.5 seconds back now from Matt Hoyland to Christian Rose, but Shifty, as he's known, doing a great job on his return to the series. 9 places gained so far. And you've got to think now which of these guys are going to be saving fuel and saving a little bit more time in the pits, because it's easy to sit behind the car ahead here, but it's also frustrating if you sit there and lose time to the ones further ahead. And what I mean by that is Matt Hoyland is sitting behind Jack Reeve, and sure, that'll save him fuel, but he's not then in slipstream of Yain Stitchbury in the Benetton. So it's not all bigger picture stuff for Hoyland, as I'm afraid, Ed, Rob Lundgren has had an issue.
Okay, so let's have a look and see. In the Robbie, was it just, again, that's the slow speed and picking up the throttle just a little bit too hard or a little bit too soon. But does a very nice pirouette to style it out and get up and running. Jesper Eriksson, again, can't really run away ahead of Fitzpatrick or Aberdeen in behind just because of how strong the slipstream is. As well, another thing to think about is the strategy. The drivers might just be choosing to stay where they are, saving fuel, maybe trying to leapfrog in the pits with a short stop.
Right now we ride on board with Jake Cranstone. As we said, Jake has been bridesmaid in a few series that we've covered before, but also Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge champion on his debut season. An incredibly talented young man, and a lovely bloke as well, all the same. Happy to say we've still got all 22 cars running here in round number 2 of the CDM Boremula 1 World Championship at Okayama. Thanks once again to Bottle of Scotch Racing and Derbyshire Holiday Homes for their sponsorship, and thanks also to JL Racethetics for the initial work that went on in these liveries multiple years ago. 2021 we ran the first season of Boremula 1. It's crazy to think that it's been around for nearly 4 years, and this is only our 3rd season of it. Rob Lundgren's had another issue and been off the circuit again. He's lost a good 14-15 seconds now to Philip Miles, so he's a bit more in the clear. Martin Kenyon is running in 16th place. He's nearly in the points as well, is Martin, although Rob Lundgren now is coming into the pits. He's actually got damage on that car, quite a considerable amount of it as well, if we just keep an eye on it here as he limps by. Yeah, that front right is mighty broken. Let's see.
Hello. And the Ford through this left-hander.
Oh,
Looping around. Oh, and that's a surprisingly heavy impact, isn't it? After going through one of the lowest speed corners on the circuit, just jumps off the front of that little Pro Mazda.
yeah, it just continued to pick up speed, didn't it, as he fired it towards the wall. It just continued to build up, even though it was still wheel spinning. It was still gaining a little bit of traction out of it, and like we see, it just fired itself forwards. We ride on board with Kevin Zemstra, a race winner before in the CDM Formula 1 World Championship. He is one of only 2 previous race winners actually in the top 5 at the moment. Sam Fitzpatrick, despite taking the team's championship last season with Cam Dance, double champion, he didn't end up winning a race actually. Kevin wants to repeat the win that he got back in season 1 when we replicated the 97 season. Now he's going to be deep in the slipstream of Taylor Adams, but Taylor, to be fair, is not really in striking distance of Lee Aberdeen. There's 1.3 seconds between them though, Ed. I reckon they'll get a little bit from there, but it's not going to be a lot, is it?
No, it won't be. It's certainly going to help them out a little bit, but not as much as you imagine by being right on the rear bumper. As we can see, those front 3 doing exactly that. Sam Fitzpatrick got close company in behind. Love this little camera angle, isn't it? It gives a great view of how much the suspension's having to work as well, of just how close the cars in behind are. But that's the lovely thing about iRacing, is that it models everything down to the last little detail. You can see it vibrating over the curbs as well. You're going to get a great view of it as they come through the final corner. Just the way it compresses, the way it loads up. And there again, just riding all of those bumps beautifully. They're fun little cars to drive, just as even hot lapping, but especially when you're racing this close together, slipstream means that you get some brilliant racing, which is why we keep doing this here, isn't it, Chaz? Getting these little Mazdas out as Matt Hoyland.
Whoa. Ooh. Good save there by Jack Reeve, and then Matt pounces, goes around the outside. Jack's going to lose a little bit of traction on the exit as well with those hot tyres. And Matt Hoyland gains his 5th position of the race. He's the biggest mover inside the top 10. Taylor Adams and Kevin Zemstra have gained 3 places each at this moment in time. Christian Rose is the biggest mover with 9 spots gained, and Martin Kenyon has gained 7. A bit further down, we've got another little trio battling away here, as we have Simon Price ahead of his teammate Connor Hatfield, and then John Tusting after his earlier dramas with Simon, wanting to gain more ground. Same with Ben Chalcraft as well. Sorry to say that Rob Lundgren has retired from the race now. Rob no longer running. Hopefully he'll be back stronger than ever for the following round. Connor Hatfield has to be careful here, chasing down his teammate in that Minardi. He won't want to rock the boat too much, really, at this point.
No, Will's going to try and see if he can maybe work together with his teammate for this season. So you don't want to make any enemies with the teammates, even if you've not necessarily raced together beforehand, because they're going to be stuck with you for the whole of the season. It's better to have a friend in the same car than an enemy. We'll see, though, if Connor Hatfield and Simon Price will work together, or if we might see a little bit of battling between the teammates. Dust kicked up, as is the case, isn't it, through that second to last corner exit. I was just pushing so hard, going flat out through there, not wanting to lift whatsoever.
Right now,
as well. Sorry, I was going to see the progress of Christian Rose trying to catch up to Jack Reeve, and he's certainly making some headway lap upon lap and dragging Tom Stanley along with him.
Yeah, 4.7 seconds behind now, but he was half a second quicker on that last lap. We know that Christian is one of the fastest drivers we've ever had in Formula 1, but he's been a bit rusty, so he made sure that he didn't qualify, and then he's making his way up through the order, and it's been a fantastic debut for him. His teammate Stuart Clark will be really pleased as well. It's the second replacement driver he's had since Jack Werrell's appendix selfishly exploded before the season started. As right now, this is getting closer and closer all the time. I was going to say we'll go on board with Ben Chalcraft here, because he'll get the best view of all this kicking off, because the two Minardis are wobbling around trying to avoid each other, while at the moment Tusting and Chalcraft want to dig their way through and gain some places as a result of their little shenanigans.
Yeah, wonderful view this. Ben Chalcraft, Sauber more just having to be so careful and delicate on the steering, on the throttle inputs, because these cars aren't really the most comfortable in these slower speed sections. They're just, you can really get a feel for how light and twitchy they are. And again, they don't weigh a whole lot, so while they don't have necessarily the most powerful engines, the way they accelerate and go is like very little else on the sim. But then, having a bit of a moment there on the brakes, just in towards turn 1. We've got to correct it though, because when you've got the car as twitchy as it is through there and it has a moment, you've got to just think on your feet and try and make that right decision in a split second to keep it pointing in a straight line. A little look, wasn't it, just in behind there from the arrows to John Tusting on Connor Hatfield, but it's all these little half looks that all again, it might try and throw a driver off. If anything, going into a corner like that, it's actually hampered his exit quite a bit and he's not able to make any real move on an area where, again, we're seeing probably the most amount of overtakes being made is now. As soon as I saw that inside right lockup, I thought we were going to see the two teammates coming together, but actually Simon Price off the road backs out of it and allows not just his teammate through, but also seemingly John Tusting's able to get ahead.
Oh, and Ben Chalcraft sneaks through. Chalcraft sneaks through, but fair play to Simon Price, because he could have easily cut back across to the outside and made a bit of a mess there, and he didn't. He had a little bit of a wobble on the exit of the corner. It got dirt on his tyres, and he knows how fickle these cars can be. Now he gets to sit in the slipstream of these other guys as well. Danny Weir apparently got a... Oh, no, sorry, it wasn't Danny Weir getting ahead of Rob Lundgren. It was the other Tyrrell moving around. No, this is Danny Weir, even though I've clicked on the right thing. Kenyon got ahead of Francois Brandet. Again, look at the slipstream there as they change up. Francois moves over to the right. Martin not expecting that one. And through he goes. That was just ahead of the battle that we were watching, actually, just a moment ago. We go back up to the front of the order. And it's now 3 little trios, isn't it, at this stage, Ed? Actually, 2 trios and a duo a bit further back. But these guys have broken up the usual train of about 6 or 7 cars that we see.
Yeah, I think those front 3 are just really in a class of their own here tonight. Something about Okayama that works for them, and they're able to break away. Hopefully the fact that we can see the 3 of them up there doesn't mean it will be just a 3-way fight for a lead. We imagine, of course, that when they start to battle and slow each other down, more and more cars will find themselves in the midst of that battle for the race lead. But this, I think, is where a lot of the action is, isn't it, Chaz, for their sort of 16th place, currently held by John Tusting, as he's able to, I think he's just actually gotten ahead, hasn't he, of Connor Hatfield.
Yeah, he's now ahead of the Minardis and the Sauber. They all sort of got involved with one another in the early stage of the race, but John now has to work on trying to catch up with Francois Brandet. Was that Ben Chalcraft coming in early? It is. Ben Chalcraft makes his way into the pit lane. Now, this is an interesting one. 14 laps complete for Ben. Has he done the fuel numbers early now and figured, right, I can make it to the end, let me get out of this nonsense and crack on? Because we saw Tom Stanley do this at Phillip Island. He had an early stop and then gained a lot of time on everybody. So is Ben going to make that work round here?
Oftentimes in Formula 1, it is the drivers that stop earlier that tend to come out on top, at least in terms of races that aren't fuel limited. So we're going to have to see if that's going to really work out for Ben Chalcraft. Obviously, you're not getting the slipstream from the cars ahead, but you're also not involved in those fights that are going to be slowing everyone down. You can just instead hot lap and focus on yourself. Oh, that was a tasty little move, wasn't it? Up the inside by Kevin Zemstra. Really, really well measured, because he came so close to getting that wrong. But I think there was just about a Ferrari's width up on the inside of Taylor Adams. We'll see it here. Look at him arriving on scene.
Excuse me, says Kevin. Yeah, I think Taylor knew he was going to look down the inside, but I don't think he quite expected him to carry that much corner speed there. They got away with that contact, but Taylor's going to be a little bit riled by that one. I'm sorry if you're hearing that sort of audio fragmenting, by the way, on the broadcast, everybody. I really don't know why it's doing that, but hopefully we can get rid. Jake Cranstone, he's been quite quiet in 6th position, but I think this is a bigger picture race from Jake. He knows that he's not going to overtake the guys for the race lead at the moment. He's just sitting here and he's saving fuel on these boys, I reckon, although that isn't fuel saving, is it?
No, it's, I think, a little mistake actually from Taylor Adams, and just finds himself going from 4th now all the way down into 6th. There's Jake Cranstone with the slipstream, with the overspeed, has his nose ahead as they go into the braking zone, and there's a lift off quite heftily actually by Taylor Adams, which basically concedes the place to Jake Crymsun. Now, though, with Kevin Semstra in free air, can he catch up to this trio? Jesper Eriksson, Sam Fitzpatrick, and Lee Aberdeen continuing to lead the way in the way that they have done since pretty much turn 2. Mistake just about corrected by Jesper Eriksson. Sam Fitzpatrick not really close enough to take advantage, but again, I think they're just trying to work together more than anything else to keep that sort of second pack at bay behind. Let's have a look at Christian Rose in his performance up the field so far. He's definitely now, well, able to properly see number 10 or car in 10th place, Jack Reeve in the arrows, just in his sights, probably within the next lap or two.
He's actually one of the fastest drivers on the circuit right now, is Christian Rose. Tom Stanley as well, absolutely flying. Christian's done a 125.09 on that lap, just on his personal best. So he is on a real charge in this. Stuart, welcome back to the championship. Christian, I know that Stuart Clark will be pleased and Jack Reeve won't be. He's looking at that relative, isn't he? He's looking at the times on the board and he's going, no, stay away, please. I want to hold on to this top 10 position. Jack Reeve, from what I can remember, he did finish in the top 10 back at Phillip Island, so he's already had a top 10 finish. It's not like it's going to be out of the ordinary for him, but yeah, I know that he won't want Christian to be all over the back of him for the remainder. Philip Miles has just done his best lap of the race in his pursuit of Simon Price. He's finally got a bit of slipstream on his side, so he can now use that to his advantage. Let's have a look at the speed of these cars. They usually do just under 140 miles an hour without the slipstream, and with it, I mean, even down here at the back straight, they're getting to just about 140 with a big enough run. At the longest straight at Phillip Island, we saw much more than that, as Martin Kenyon off the road. He rejoins in front of Francois Brandet. I know what Francois will be saying, but I can't tell you. Back down the inside goes the Frenchman, and unfortunately for them, that's not for a point scoring place, but Martin having a little bit of a rough ride there.
Yeah, we'll have another look at it here. Just follow Martin.
Oh, just an overcorrection.
Mid-corner. Really quite viciously as well. We'll see from the onboard. Just, it seems fine as he turns in, and then goes on him as well to sort of correct it, but unfortunately Tyler is very close that particular corner. That's what takes him into the barrier, but I think we'll see him just survive that one because it was into one of the more softer barriers, isn't it? It's not into the concrete that we saw. I think Robbie Lundgren meet his race end at, so fingers crossed, should be able to keep it going. Fingers crossed this battle keeps going. Sam Fitzpatrick right in the midst of it. Jesper Eriksson up ahead of him. Lee Aberdeen right in behind. And again, these drivers, I think, just trying to feel each other out. And you may actually have had damage and has had to get that fixed up. But it's a decent time because with that, he should be able to go till the end of the race.
He's quite a while ahead of Ben Chalcraft as well, which is interesting. But then again, there was quite the gap between them before Martin pitted. So, interesting. Martin obviously would have lost time as a result of the incident, but still Ben ends up quite well behind. Lap 18 of the Japanese Ball Prix here in the CDM Formula 1 World Championship. We're looking at championship leader and race leader Jesper Eriksson driving the car that Cam Dance won the championship with in Season 2 and the team's championship as well. And funnily enough, right behind him is the driver that drove the other Williams last season, Sam Fitzpatrick in the Benetton. Currently running in second position, having another high-scoring run. Lee Aberdeen, it's great to see him back in form at the front after really being unfortunate at Phillip Island. He almost put it on pole position in this qualifying session, despite being one of the first cars to go out. And it's lovely to see Lee back at the pace that he showed us during pre-season testing. They're going to come up on a little bit of lap traffic soon. It's one of the Prosts. I believe that will be Danny Weir. Yes, because Philip Miles is in the pits, so it's factual that it's Danny Weir. Well, interesting to have some cars pitting this early on here, Ed. It looks like it's going to be around the sort of 20 lap mark before they start getting into the pit lane, and then, well, from there they can go to the end because they start with 25% fuel and then they can fill up to 50% in the stop.
Yes, so should be all good for them. Look at the pink helmet there of Lee Aberdeen. Right in behind.
I don't know what helmet you've got. Mine's pink. Mine's black, sorry.
Oh, for some reason it was showing up as pink for me. I'm not sure why that's gone the way it has done. loaded the paint back and everything, so I guess that's not got the drivers, unless my trading paints maybe is refreshed at a different period
Or
to yours.
to be fair, he didn't send in a lid, I don't think. So maybe if you've had one from before,
Yes, I may have done.
that might be where it's grabbed that from. Philip Miles, bless him, trying to stay out of the way of everybody, had an issue. I don't know if he just willingly came to a stop. No, he did have a spin. He did have a spin trying to allow the leaders to go by. Oh no, it was just before they got there. Oh, then it was the other Prost that moved out of the way. It was Danny Weir that moved over to the side. That's what confused me. I saw a Prost going way out there. Danny, bless him, really diving out of the way. Look, one side of the circuit to the other. That's good stuff, that, from Danny and from Philip, to be fair. They both were very aware of the traffic chasing them. But these leaders, it's looking a little bit frantic from where Jesper Eriksson is, isn't it? Look at this. He's really sliding the back end of the car around now.
Yeah, he's having to work really hard, I think, just to keep in front. He doesn't have the slipstream, so he needs to make up for it in the corners to build up the advantage so he doesn't get completely eaten up on the straights. Just see. Ooh, a little bit squirrely on the exit. And just look at the hands having to work overtime on the wheel. And towards turn one, you can see just going from such a high speed to trying to slow it down. The way the car sort of shifts its momentum means that the rear end gets incredibly light, even lighter than normal. And then just so hard to properly finally balance. But Jesper's doing a great job of it at this point. Again, the whole front sort of three are doing a really good job, aren't they, of keeping themselves on the straight and narrow. Zemstra's breaking away a touch, isn't he, from Cranstone and Adams in behind.
Yeah, Zemstra's got a move on here. He did a 125.0 last time round. Cranstone did a 125.3. And he's actually trying to defend now from Taylor Adams because Taylor is in the slipstream and he's flying. Aaron Smith, not on necessarily a strong run at the moment himself. Currently running in 7th place though, so still on for some good championship points. This is not what Aaron would have wanted after the promise of that first round. Interesting actually that 2 of the podium finishes are right up there, but Aaron finds himself in 7th position at present. Cranstone though, well, he's going to have to work hard to defend from Taylor Adams if Taylor wants to get by, because we've seen it multiple times before where drivers want to just sit behind one another, save the fuel, especially when it's a circuit with as many straights as this, because there's some big old straights here. This start-finish straight for one, the back straight, and then of course the little straight even after turn 2, and then the one in towards the final hairpin section. There's a lot of very big straight bits. If I bring up the track map, you can see, look, there are some hefty slipstreaming areas, aren't there?
Yeah, I mean, it's flat out from here all the way down to the very next corner, so it's more areas where slipstream can come into play. Francois Brandet, for very impressive qualifying, he's going to have a moment here. Ooh, and then just has to try and get out of the way as soon as possible. Finds himself into a neat little pocket to rejoin into as well. Nicely managed. Did the right thing though, didn't he, after that spin, just by staying still with the car so close behind.
Yeah, Jack Reeve into the pits now as well. You can see out of the drivers that have all pitted, Christian Rose has been into the pits. He's heading down the start-finish straight. Now, he was chasing down Jack Reeve earlier on. Also, Tom Stanley has pitted a bit earlier than the others. Where is Jack Reeve in all of this? There he is. Christian tries to go around the outside. That's as close as you like after a pit stop. Christian Rose gets through round the outside, but Jack's not going to take that one lying down. Tom Stanley's now going to have a front row seat for this little scrap. It's literally black versus white, yin versus yang here in Formula 1. Oh, sorry, Boremula 1. I got a bit ahead of myself. The leaders are all now coming into the pit lane. Oh, Shifty's run really deep into that corner, though, and now he gets a massive slingshot on the exit. God, it's like Speedway. Kevin Zemstra's continued on, actually, while the lead pack has come into the pits. That's quite intriguing. We want to keep our eye on this, though, and see what these lot do, because, oh, Jack can't go much further over than that, really, with Tom Stanley there. He tries to go around the outside of Christian Rose, but Stanley says, no, thank you, I'll have that. Jack's still on the inside line. This is excellent racing. Don't forget that these are open-wheeled little cars. Any contact would be disastrous, but this is brilliant from these two. It's exactly what Christian Rose wants, though, Ed, with them all getting away.
Oh, definitely is. You can see Jesper Eriksson out on the road.
Oh,
Jan Stitchbury just up ahead, and it's a close little battle actually, as Lee Aberdeen has dropped, I think, outside of the slipstream, has he, from Sam Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. It's going to be close, but we'll see what happens when these guys come out, because when these next drivers come through, when Zemstra pits, when Jan Stitchbury pits, they could fill some of those gaps, I think. But Jesper Eriksson has retained his lead after the pit stops from Sam Fitzpatrick and Lee Aberdeen. Jake Cranstone is ahead of Taylor Adams, but that Minardi in the middle there, Connor Hatfield, that is for position. He's stayed out longer.
Oh, so Connor Hatfield, really impressive there. Obviously, we'd expect him to come into the pits soon, though.
He's stretching that stint, isn't he?
When Zemstra's in, Jan's in, so we imagine that Hatfield will probably follow suit. But Kevin has had some great pace since getting clear of that little battle he was in. As Taylor Adams, moment for him, dropping back behind Aaron Smith.
Oh, just flicks it into the corner and it gets away. Look how easily done that is. So easily done. He makes sure he's got a good view of everybody before he rejoins. Now, Kevin Zemstra. Where's he going to come out? Here comes Jesper Eriksson. Here comes Sam Fitzpatrick and Lee Aberdeen. Zemstra's going to come back out here, though. What about Jake Cranstone? Jake Cranstone is not anywhere near him, actually. Wow, I was expecting him to be a lot closer, but Kevin was starting to sort of chase down Lee Aberdeen, like you rightly said, as, oh no, Simon Price has now had a spin. Danny Weir has to jump out of the way. Connor Hatfield in the pits of the Minardi now. God, it's all go all of a sudden, but what we do know is Jesper Eriksson still leads from Sam Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, Kevin Zemstra and Lee Aberdeen inseparable as ever. Hopefully the two cars don't merge into each other like they did last time, but Jesper Eriksson, a healthy gap to Sam Fitzpatrick. It's looking good for the Swede here tonight after their pit stops have been completed. It's now pretty much going to be less about race management and more about gap management. Yes, we're trying to keep Sam as far away from him as possible. Francois Brandet, it's just not gone well from at all in the race, has it? Qualifying gave a glimpse of a little bit of promise, but unfortunately that just has not materialised for him.
No, it's been a little bit scruffy in the race, unfortunately. Just the odd little lock-up here and there, that's all he's done. Just having a little moment, but these cars are easy to lock up. It's very easy to push too hard and overdo it and over-rotate it, as Ed and I will continue to elaborate on throughout the season. But we hope you're enjoying the show here in the CDM Formula 1 World Championship. This is round number 2 of the championship. We're having a great time here at Okayama tonight. Jesper Eriksson leading the way right now. And it's definitely not been the sort of procession that we've seen before, though, Ed. There might not have been a massive amount of position changes in the opening laps, but it's been a lot more open, I think, than we'd seen in previous seasons. The competitive level at the top end, I mean, you look at anyone in that top 10 and they could all win a race easy.
100%, and I think we'll definitely see plenty of race winners over the course of the season. Jesper Eriksson in that Williams has been mighty impressive, hasn't he, so far this season?
The thing is, though, he might not end up winning this race. He may have led it all so far, but all it takes is for him to be in the wrong place in the final few laps, and he could not win this race.
Might not do. I mean, again, I think Zemstra, if he catches up to Aberdeen, who himself is looking like he could catch up to Fitzpatrick, could easily be that Ferrari that takes to the top step of the podium. Obviously, know though, Sam Fitzpatrick and, well, actually all of these front drivers, at least the front 3, have got something about them that means that, I don't know, I think I'd back Fitzpatrick. He knows how to manage these races, doesn't he? He's a driver that does like to be nice and careful, measures the race nicely, and then decides to attack in those final 5 minutes after. I think more putting in the work to try and settle the cars ahead of him. We saw Christian Rose do that a lot as well, didn't we, Chaz?
Yeah, Christian Rose certainly knows how to run these races as well. That's the thing. These guys have had quite a bit of experience in the past. I'm just thinking now, trying to find back the previous points in Season 2 especially, just to see when the last time we had a Benetton win a race, because I'm pretty sure that, yeah, it was Jesper Eriksson that won a race for Benetton in Season 2. Although he won a race, I don't know if he did it for Benetton or Ferrari, because he did race for Ferrari later in the season. We did change him over. So, I'll have to look back on that. Although no, he won at round 7, and I'm pretty sure that he was not in a Ferrari at that point. He was in the Benetton still. So yeah, Jesper took a very well-deserved victory for Benetton in round 7. But it's great to see that the Benetton's still going strong with Sam Fitzpatrick. I think he'll be a little bit fired up, actually, because it's the car that he was previously racing in that is ahead of him at the moment, or one of them anyway, one of the Williams. The other one, Tom Stanley. Another race where it's what might have been for Tom Stanley. He is in the points at the present moment. He finished 11th at Phillip Island as well, actually, after having dramas early on. Connor Hatfield has been off, and then Simon Price has been off. So the Minardis have had a bit of a torrid moment. Let's have a look.
I think they're related. It's just Connor Hatfield, sort of a half spin. Again, you see all the time, don't we? As those cars just over rotating, and then is Simon Price going to, the same corner, surely?
Maybe on the exit instead, or maybe down here. No? It says he went off track, so I don't necessarily think he spun. I don't know. Oh, it was way after that. Okay. He's just going to... Oh, maybe overcorrect it? No, he does have a spin. He just didn't go slow enough to trigger it as what would be called a crash by the sim. Francois Brandet, I think this was his moment earlier on. Yeah, the car ahead came out of the pits, and he just, press all the buttons, take a screenshot, and it will slide off the circuit. Philip Miles and Francois Brandet then had a good old little battle here, actually. Let's keep an eye on this, shall we, and see what happened here. So, Philip Miles in the Prost, dives out to the left. Francois wanted to race the Prost for this championship as well, so he'll be a bit annoyed once trying to take over him.
And going up the inside, not quite able to get that move made, and then all the way around the outside.
Whoa! Lively stuff. And they're still right together as well, by the way, a few laps later. So they are having a good old ding-dong, these boys. And this is one of the things that we love about this championship the most, is that anybody can race anybody. You know, there's a big variation in the pace sometimes, but everyone's got someone to race against. Stuart Clark, I think, having a bit of a drama into this hairpin. Yep. As the tyres have been going off, we've been seeing more and more of that, haven't we, Ed? More and more drivers. Look at the amount of dust that's flying across that straight there because of the downhill revolver corner.
Yeah. Lovely little touch, isn't it, on iRacing to model that as it would do in real life, really. If the wind catches the dust at that height, it will blow way across. Eric's kicking up as much dust as he possibly can at the moment, isn't he? He's almost deploying a smoke screen to see if that's going to keep Fitzpatrick behind him. But we know that Sam is a driver that's not easily deterred, and Jesper's going to really have to work hard over the next 20 laps to keep in the lead of the race. Aberdeen, it's more just trying to eat into the gap between himself and Fitzpatrick. But if those front two start to battle, he'll be right there ready to take advantage.
It's great to see that the cars are getting a little bit mucky as well. There's a few marks and scrapes on them here and there, so you can tell they've been used. There's little rubber marks all over them. Zemstra running well in 4th place. Cranstone running in 5th at the moment. Bit of a stalemate between the top 5. They're all separated, except for the lead 2, by over a second and a bit. So right now, they're not really in huge slipstreaming range of each other that keeps them in that sort of pack that we're used to seeing. At the moment, Aaron Smith as well is 5 seconds behind Jake Cranstone. He's having a lonely race. So too is Taylor Adams. And then so too is Jan Stitchbury just behind them. And then even behind that as well, 4.6 seconds back, is Matt Hoyland having a slightly lonely race. But how quickly will Christian Rose catch up to him? Christian's been the absolute revel in this lot. Really putting on a good show as Zemstra... Ooh. What has happened to Kevin Zemstra? Has Zemstra disconnected and had a hardware failure? It looks like it. Let's go on board with Jake Cranstone. We'll see. Will Kevin just... Yeah, he just disappeared.
Wow.
Oh, dearie me. That is going to be devastating for Kevin Zemstra. He still has not reconnected, I'm afraid. It looks like the Ferrari has let him down. And Kevin, despite being on for some much-deserved points in this second race after a horrible race 1, his bad luck in Formula 1 continues.
I mean, the cars in 1998 in the real world were not the most reliable. Definitely not like these hyper-engineered bits of kit that race in the modern iteration of Formula One. So that's essentially what would be classed as like an engine failure, isn't it, or some sort of physical, sort of mechanical fault that's taken him out of the race. I'm just keeping an eye to see if he does reconnect, but he's still way down the order, and I think very soon we're going to see a message in iRacing to see that he is oh dear, we don't want to have any more as Jesper Eriksson blinks for a second as Zemstra's back. He's returned at pretty much the same place that he disappeared.
Wow. I mean, how long do you get an iRacing? 2 minutes? He's just gone off the road just to make sure he's definitely still there. Oh dear. Oh dear. I mean, luckily for Jake, I mean, unluckily at the same time, he is not now getting slipstream from Kevin in front of him. Not that he was getting much of that anyway, but at the same time, at least he's not got Kevin right in front of him, blinking in and out every few seconds. That is worse, isn't it, when you're a driver in a battle?
I've just seen Kevin Zemstra connection drop due to upload packet loss in the sim.
No. So that is Kevin Zemstra, competitively at least, for points out of the Japanese Grand Prix. Look at this. Christian Rose says, go on. Who are you? Newcomer, Jordan. See in a bit. Matt Hoyland thinks, where on earth does this come from? Great showing this by Christian Rose. I don't think he'll be returning for Stewart, that's for sure.
This could be a very impressive haul of points for Stewart if Christian's able to get this over the line. See the Benetton next car up the road, driven by Jan Stitchbury. That's some 5.5 seconds clear. But don't count Christian out for making that gap up in the time left in this race. Again, around about 17 laps to go now. Jesper Eriksson, well, he's got a lot more of a closer Benetton right behind him. This is the other one we were talking about. Obviously, Jan's teammate, doing very well at this moment in time, is Sam. Both of them actually breaking away from Lee Aberdeen, who's about 2 seconds behind this front pair. So what was initially a three-way fight has become just a duel between the pair of them.
I think that's why Sam is so confident to push so hard now to chase right behind Ericsson, because he knows that he's away from Lee. He doesn't need to play any long-term games here. He's just going to push and fill the rearview mirror of that lead Williams. Once again, we have 5 different manufacturers in the top 5 here, Ed. This is great stuff.
Brilliant stuff to see. Would have been, I think, the same actually as well if Kevin Zemstra was there, because it's Aaron Smith's Ferrari that makes it the 5th manufacturer in that little pack.
Still devastated though for Kevin.
Yeah,
he's had such bad luck in Formula One. He did take a race victory quite a while ago, actually, after trying for a long time. But it is devastating for him that the race has ended prematurely and through no fault of his own. I really had hope then when he reconnected that he would be back in the mix, but it seems not. But you are watching race number 2 of Season 3 in the CDM Formula 1 World Championship. It's Jesper Eriksson in the Williams leading Sam Fitzpatrick's Benetton. Then it's Lee Aberdeen in the McLaren, back to his form that we saw in pre-season testing. Jake Cranstone in 4th place ahead of Aaron Smith's Ferrari. Then it's Taylor Adams in the other McLaren. Jan Stitchbury in the Benetton has gained 3 places. Christian Rose is gained 12 from the back of the grid to get up to 8th position. He's ahead of Matt Hoyland's Jordan so far. Tom Stanley is inside the top 10 as well in his Williams Mechachrome. Jack Reeve is on for more championship points for Arrows, and Stuart Clark is in 12th place in that final point scoring place for Stuart, 7 seconds ahead of Martin Kenyon. Sauber do have 3 points so far this season thanks to Ben Chalcraft, but he is another 7 seconds behind Martin here, with only John Tusting for company. We have lost so far Rob Lundgren due to an incident and damage earlier on, and Kevin Zemstra in the Ferrari after running 4th for so long. Kevin no longer running due to a technical issue.
Yeah, again, really just heartbreaking stuff there for Kevin, who he's just, again, like you mentioned, Chaz, never had the luck in Formula One. It just doesn't seem to work out for him no matter how hard he tries. And he put in a great shift earlier, battling to get up into that 4th place and trying to chase down a podium. Just seemingly was not to be. Got a great battle though on our hands still between these pair, and I think it's Fitzpatrick's trying to size up Jesper. A back marker just up ahead for Jesper to try and navigate. Could Sam maybe use that to his advantage? drivers, obviously, in this championship are very good at getting out of the way. A lot better than some of the other real-world drivers in Formula 1.
I mean, yeah, but to be
Take some
fair,
notes, potentially.
in real-world Formula 1, from where Jesper Eriksson is now, he would claim that he's getting impeded by Simon Price, I'm sure.
True.
But still, it's great to see. I mean, it's going dark here at Okayama. The sun is very much setting on this second race of the season. We are now on to lap 33 of 47. Quite long races, these. But these guys are certainly loving it at the moment. And so are we up here in the commentary box, Chaz Draycott and Ed May. After this one, don't forget, we have a week off from Boremula 1 on a Wednesday night. We then go back to Mosport in Canada for the Canadian Boar Prix in 2 weeks' time, which will be an absolute corker. I think these cars are going to be really, really difficult around there.
Mosport is such a fun track. It's so good to drive. I mean, first sort of half of the lap is brilliant, but then those last few corners as well. So technical, so tricky to try and manage, especially in these little Formula 1 little Pro Mazdas. And with that massive straight, isn't it, on the back straight?
Yeah.
We're going to be seeing lots of action there. That's one that I will definitely be tuning into. Once more, Jesper Eriksson doing a little bit of lawn maintenance.
He really is, isn't he? He's properly using all of the road and more to stay ahead. It's been very dramatic to see from a leader, because usually in Formula 1, the race leader and those following, they all just sort of sit in formation until the last couple of laps when they really most definitely want to be ahead of each other. But Jesper's been that quick in the twisty stuff. It's just seemed like nobody can get close to him by the time they come onto a big straight. It's more just keeping Sam only just in touch, isn't it? It's not actually closing them together, and we're not seeing the usual lifts and early braking that we're used to seeing in Formula 1. It's interesting, this.
I think it's just a different way that the drivers like to approach things. Oh, that's Matt Hoyland off. The beautiful Jordan, seemingly a bit more battered and bruised. Is the car driving straight, and will he be able to make it to the end, or has he got a bit of damage with the wall? We'll see. It's like, again, just classic over-rotation. It's already kind of going, isn't it, midway through the corner, and the spin just carries on. Oh, that's not a pretty sight at all.
Danny Weir has been into the pits. Enters the pit lane as usual. Makes his way in. He's not going to coulthard it. Now the pit lane speed limiter comes on, and there you go. And then he's pulled over, and then he's jumped to the pits, unfortunately. I'm not sure if he's retired the car, but yeah, Danny Weir seemingly in the pit lane and is still there now. He's been in for nearly a minute now, has Danny, unfortunately. Francois Brandet and Philip Miles are still having a good scrap. And this is what we love, isn't it, Ed? We've seen this before, actually. I think it was Rob Lundgren and Hasse Raymer back at Silverstone in the 97 season. We had an epic battle for last place between those two guys, and it was some of the best racing we'd ever seen in Formula 1. These guys are doing a bit of that as well. They're having their great own scrap for 17th and 18th positions. And it's lovely to see that for Francois, because he was so buzzing about Formula 1. Then had a horrible time in the first round. Goodness me. After an incident and many spins. But now he's got Philip Miles to race against, and they're having a ball by the look of it.
Yeah, it's great when you have these little fights in Formula 1, and that's the beautiful thing about this championship, is that there's so many drivers evenly matched up and down the field, is that even if you're not necessarily going to be fighting for points, you're going to have someone to fight with, and I think that's why these drivers do it. They don't race for the glory of anything, they race because they just want to enjoy. Such a close, tight-knit championship is action every single race meeting. Stuart Clark and Jack Reeve. Stuart ended up coming out on top in this battle, and that was just through in towards Revolver, able to get the move done nice and cleanly.
Yeah, well done to him. He's actually going to get further ahead of Jack Reeve, who's gone wide through turn 2 once again. Now the battle for first position is still going on here. Jesper Eriksson has Sam Fitzpatrick all over the back of him, but they are continuing to get ahead of Lee Aberdeen. Lee is now 3 seconds off these guys. But this is one of the best bits about this sort of championship, isn't it, Ed? We've got these drivers that, I mean, Lee was ridiculous at Spa-Francorchamps, but go to a different circuit and it may not always be the same case, where these guys can't quite get the same confidence in the car that others might have been able to. So it's always exciting to see it as, oh no, has there actually been a drama between these pair? Hopefully they don't get in the way of our leaders. But it sounded like there was contact there, I'm sure you'll agree. Philip Miles and Francois Brandet having a bit of a ding-dong with one another. Oh, gentlemen, what are you doing? What was that?
That was Philip Miles
Oh, sorry.
at the race there. Let's have a look here.
Oh, we've already seen this.
You've already seen the Matt
Oh, no.
Holland incident.
Oh, no, he had
this is
another one.
separate one.
Oh.
Ooh.
Whoa.
And I think you're bang on with what your assessment was earlier, Chaz. The tyres, as soon as they start going, we see it more and more. Matt Hoyland again getting caught out. And it's at the low speed. The car just has zero low speed grip. And then look at this terrifying.
Through the
sight.
smoke. Oh, my word. That is mighty close by Stuart Clark. And then Jack Reeve. But yeah, then there was Francois Brandet and Philip Miles. This was even earlier. This was the moment. Actually, no, this wasn't it. I don't know what happened before this, but here we go.
So this was towards turn 1.
Philip
Side
down the
line taken
inside.
by Prost.
Oh, Francois just keeps
Ooh.
coming over. I don't know where Francois expected him to go there. But he started coming over to the right. There's that noise again. And then on the exit here, they get back going again. And then again, I don't know where Francois thought he was going to go. I'm not sure on that one, unfortunately, but it seemed like 2 occasions where Francois either didn't know he was there or just didn't leave the room, unfortunately. But all of this gets looked at, so it will be something that does get looked at. But we've looked at these two for long enough now, and they're still remaining in the same positions and not really changing around a lot. Sam Fitzpatrick's teammate Ryan Stitchbury is still having a very lonely race as well, as many drivers are in that part of the field, but it's championship points at the end of the day, isn't it, Ed? That's what's all important, and it's 6 of them as well in where he currently stands, and when you get 15 for a win, that's not a bad night.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's fair to say that Chaz Lee Whiting is going to be keeping an eye on things here tonight, making sure that all the drivers are at least informed of things to improve on for next rounds. But by and large, Chaz, it has been a really clean night, hasn't it? I don't want to jinx it, obviously, with this lead battle that we could almost certainly see getting very spicy, but by and large, across the whole field, it has been a really well-behaved evening from everyone.
Yeah, it's been lovely. I mean, the first round of the championship, after everything, all we did was issue just one warning for the entire night, and that was only down to something that was down to basic human misjudgment, which we've all been guilty of before, as I said to these guys in the drivers' briefing. And unfortunately, Danny had to miss the start because his son was crying. Bless him. Sorry to hear it, Danny. But I hope, obviously, we see you back at Mosport in 2 weeks' time. And Kevin Zemstra is out as well, saying, well, let's watch to the end then. Bless you, Kevin. We are absolutely gutted for you, mate. But thank you again for the entertainment that you brought us along the way in this race. And these two now, surely something's got to give here. Do you reckon we're going to see Sam sit there until the very end?
Might leave it until the last couple of laps. I don't know if he's going to leave it right until the final lap, because that's a big gamble that he might try in those sort of final, maybe couple of laps to really turn it up that little bit more. He's getting, certainly it feels a lot closer with every single lap, but more just to apply the pressure than actually go for those moves.
Every single time we see him, he is right up behind Jesper Eriksson, and Jesper's going to be very aware of this as well. He knows what the score is. He knows that Sam is not going anywhere. They've raced against each other before, of course, in Season 2 of Boremula 1. So they know that they are competitors that know the score. They know the game. Obviously, the races are longer than they used to be, but the idea is very similar, where they have to sort of save fuel, think about a strategy, and then go to the end. But because the race is longer, there's more time for any pace differences to make a change in the race. Both Prosts are in the pits at present, unfortunately. Philip Miles, after his earlier debacle, is now back in as well, so Prost will not score any points here tonight. It's a potential that Sauber could score points with Martin Kenyon. He's gained 9 places in this race so far. He is 4 seconds behind Matt Hoyland, so I'm intrigued to see whether he can make up that gap in the final moments, or whether Matt can hold on for that final point scoring place. He's had 2 spins in the late stages, but it's interesting to see this, isn't it, Ed? You know, the teams that are still struggling to score 1 or 2 points here and there just because of how difficult these cars are to drive. We've got Only 3 points on the board for Sauber so far this season. Jordan had 14 coming here, and I mean, Jake Cranstone is well clear of Aaron Smith, so he doesn't have to worry so much. But Aaron actually is having to start to think about Taylor Adams now, so Ferrari's point score from the night is increasingly under threat. In fact, just looking at the points, Taylor Adams got 9 and Aaron Smith got 12 back at Phillip Island. Taylor's going to be hungry for more after a result like that, isn't he?
Yeah, but we know, of course, that, well, Taylor Adams is great at attacking. I mean, Smith is also just as good at defending. Just see again how twitchy these cars are in towards turn 1, aren't they? I would not want to be behind the wheel of them, at least here at Okayama, because you can see the circuit really is demanding a lot from the driver. A little bit of a mistake, they're running wide, and is Taylor Adams going to use this as an opportunity to go for the move up the inside? No.
He's going to try and get a slipstream, I think.
And get it on the way out of the corner now, isn't he? All the way up in towards, I think, a little bit more of an easier overtaking opportunity.
Well, he started a little bit too close for my liking there. I would have thought he'd wait and be a bit further back to get the run. He's now, I was going to say forcing Aaron Smith to the inside, but we really don't want these guys to be squeezing each other as Aaron's gone deep. The Ferrari goes deep into the hairpin, and Taylor Adams' hard work pays off, and through goes the McLaren up into 5th spot, into a top 5. Taylor will be buzzing with that. He's put the pressure on, and Aaron has crumbled a little bit there. That was the closest battle on the circuit for a little bit as well. It's spread out a lot more than we normally see here in Bormula 1, but that's the unpredictability of it. You never know when these drivers are going to all bunch up together, or whether it is going to spread out 90s Grand Prix style. It's not quite the 90s Grand Prix results we were used to seeing, when it was usually Jack Villeneuve and then a minute and a half, then Michael Schumacher, and then everyone else a lap down, and then about 5 cars finishing. But Jesper Eriksson now, he's turned the wick up a little bit here, Ed. He was 3/10 faster than Sam Fitzpatrick on lap 40.
Yeah, really impressive there from Jesper Eriksson. I don't know if actually it might have been also partly down to Sam maybe pushing a little bit too hard and making a few mistakes, but from what I can see, Sam's lap times, they haven't really been deviating too much from what he's been doing recently, so it could just be a case of Jesper having a really, really good lap, and now in these final few moments has maybe been able to look after the tyres a little bit more. Obviously running wide onto the gravel hasn't helped them, but
no,
he's doing everything that he can do now to keep that gap where it is. But slowly over this lap at the very least, Sam has been able to reel him back in. That gap did go over the second mark, but fairly certain we're going to see Sam catch up. Oh, but maybe not actually. If Sam might have run his tyres a little bit too hot in trying to chase him down.
Yeah, potentially.
That could be another case, because again, it's just a couple little mistakes from Sam that's really opened up that gap, and Jesper pulling away seems to be in a very comfortable spot. Both of them running wide onto the gravel, pushing harder than anything. Meanwhile, in behind them, the Aberdeen looks comfortable as ever, doesn't he, in that 3rd place? But this is exactly what he wants, a nice strong podium result after that earlier disappointment in the season.
He's only 1/10 of a second slower than those guys ahead of him as well on that previous lap, so he knows that he's not really being left for dead, is he? And especially without the slipstream as well, he's not having to work overtime for it. Just reporting as well on that final point scoring place of Matt Hoyland in 12th. He is still getting away from Martin Kenyon. He's opened up another half a second or so on him, just chipping away 1/10 of a second at a time. But we hope you've enjoyed round number 2 of the CDM Bormula 1 World Championship here tonight on Chaz Draycott Media. Jesper Eriksson leads it. It's been lights to flag at the moment. He only lost the race lead in the pit stops. Sam Fitzpatrick has been 2nd throughout. Lee Aberdeen has been 3rd throughout as well. The top 3 has remained the same since the beginning. Although Lee Aberdeen qualified 2nd on the grid, Sam outdid him at the very start of the race. And it's Jake Cranstone, Taylor Adams, Aaron Smith, Ryan Stitchbury, Christian Rose. What a drive from him tonight as well. 20th on the grid for Christian after not putting in a qualifying time on his return to the series. A super sub for Stewart, and he's going to score them some pretty important points by the look of it here, Ed. What a drive.
Absolutely, and talking about the championship points, at least in terms of the teams, looking at it, Williams and Benetton are probably going to be scoring very similar points, because Williams are going to be getting a race victory and then also a 9th place. Benetton are getting a 2nd place, and as it stands, a 7th place.
Yeah, so they're only going to gain 1 point on them, aren't they?
It's going to be ever so close again in the championship when, let's not forget, those two teams came in tied with Ferrari for this 2nd round of the season. Ferrari not scoring that many points here tonight, with just the lone driver in the points, Aaron Smith, after the disappointment of Kevin Zemstra's hardware failure. And then also another team that's going to be scoring some decent points is McLaren, isn't they? Back up onto fine form with Lee Aberdeen and Taylor Adams both in the top 5.
Yeah, 3rd and 5th for them, actually, is going to give them 18 points. And considering that, yeah, I think they're not going to score quite as many as Williams.
No.
They're probably going to score the same as Benetton. So I think there's only still going to be about 1 or 2 points in it between the top 3 teams in the championship after 2 rounds, which is exactly why point systems like this always work. It's just great. You don't want to be giving out 500 points for a race win and still giving the person in 60th place 35 points. If you can do the maths like we can on the fly-ish and just give, 1 or 2 point differences here and there, it makes those individual points so much more worth it. As Aaron Smith, I think, is having some sort of technical gremlin here. He's blipping in and out a little bit. He's now recuperated and seems to be stable again, but he was definitely blinking in and out there. Someone that's checking out, though, is Jesper Eriksson. Even with the slipstream benefiting Sam Fitzpatrick to an extent, he's getting away. Oh, yeah, Aaron is really struggling now. Not sure if that's hardware related or just connection, but he's blinking in and out a lot. Jesper Eriksson, though, he's opening up a gap over Sam Fitzpatrick and doing a fine job.
Yeah, you can see that's the Minardi, isn't it, getting out of the way there?
Yeah, Connor Hatfield, that one. Making it nice and clear that he was moving over for Sam. Sam put it down the inside. Maybe took a little bit of a compromised line, but the gap has remained about the same, 1.1 seconds now. Such an intriguing chase this, though, because all it's going to take is a single mistake from either one of these drivers and it will all be over. Although, something else that could have changed further back is Matt Hoyland again having a drama in this late part of the lap. He was chasing down Jack Reeve and he's come to a stop and got going again, with Martin Kenyon starting to chase him down ever closer. 2.4 seconds.
Yeah, mistakes occurring up and down the field now, with those tyres really getting worn through. Martin Kenyon, you can just see that target up ahead. Matt Hoyland, last lap, gaining, what's that? It's about 6 seconds, wasn't it, on Matt Hoyland? Another mistake from Matt, sorry, and then it's going to be a race over as we say that. Look at him way off out of the gravel there. And those tyres are going to be dusty as anything through these slow speed corners coming up.
Thing is now for Martin, he doesn't want to get ahead of himself and push too hard trying to catch up. He just needs to keep it tidy, keep doing what he's doing, and a championship point, an all-important championship point, could be his for Sauber. That'll be their 4th point of the season. There's only going to be 2 laps left after this one for Jesper Eriksson. He's coming around the second half of lap 45. It's been an exemplary drive by him, but is it going to be enough to completely hold off Sam Fitzpatrick to the end here, Ed? Is Sam keeping something in reserve? I think he's been pushing really hard and he's just overdone it slightly.
We'll see if Jesper has overdone it a bit, because Sam is slowly but surely reeling him in.
I meant Sam, sorry. Sam.
Oh, sorry, you meant Sam. Okay,
it.
Sam. He has pushed it as well, but I think with Jesper, what he's done earlier, he might have taken a little bit out of his tyres too soon. Over the line. Again, very evenly matched Sam, I think, just on that last go around, a little bit slower by a whole lot. Jan Stitchbury now. Is that just another Minardi having a moment?
Oh, Simon Price gets out of the way. Whoa!
Oh my word.
That did not look like that was anywhere near that size of an accident. And Christian Rose has now gone up into 7th place. Christian Rose has gained his 13th spot, but my goodness me, look at this.
Benetton Space Program is... Oof.
Oh, that's terrifying for Christian.
Thank goodness for catch fencing as well.
Yeah. Yayan's somehow able to carry on. That's the mad thing. These cars will break completely after the tiniest touch wheel to wheel, but that has carried on after that hit. It's not steering straight, but it's carrying on.
Simon
Yeah,
Price
don't-
has had to come into the pits.
Don't know if he's got the sort of technical flag, the meatball flag.
Yeah, true.
So could be able to carry on until the end of the race because you think you get 3 laps to serve it.
But if you finish the race with it, does that still count? Are you allowed to finish the race with it? I don't think you are. Anyway,
That's
at the
actually a very good
front,
point.
at the order, Jesper Eriksson is about to start the final lap of the race here at Okayama. He won the first round of the season, while the man just behind him on the circuit qualified on pole position. These are our 2 pole sitters so far in Season 3 of the CDM Boremula 1 World Championship. But it looks at the moment like Jesper Eriksson is the class of the field, and it looks like he's about to take back-to-back victories, so long as he keeps this lap nice and tidy. Lee Aberdeen is 5 seconds behind Sam Fitzpatrick, so Sam's going to lose nothing by pushing to make this overtake, but he's not quite in range here, Ed. He might get a little bit slipstream that'll push him past that usual sort of 136 miles an hour, but I don't think it's going to be a massive amount. Yeah, look, he's actually touching 140 there, so it shows you just how far that slipstream comes into effect. I think it's a little bit too little, too late here from Sam Fitzpatrick as the sun sets here in Japan.
Yeah, the land of the rising sun, like you say, is beginning to set on what has been a brilliant second race of this Chaz Draycott Media Boremula 1 World Championship. Just 2 more corners now separating Jesper Eriksson from yet another race victory as well. What a season he is on track to have.
A great way to get it started, winning one of the most difficult races of the season to winning this one. Lights to flag, hands together for Jesper Eriksson. He wins round 2 of the CDM Boremula 1 World Championship. Sam Fitzpatrick comes home in second for Benetton, and Lee Aberdeen once again makes it 3 different manufacturers on the podium. Lee needed that one after a difficult start to the season. Jake Cranstone has a very lonely race in 4th, so too does Taylor Adams in 5th, so too does Aaron Smith in 6th place. But again, hands together, everybody, for this man on his return to the series from the back of the grid. Christian Rose drives the wheels off that Stewart and takes 7th place. He'll be buzzing with that tonight. I know he'll have a massive smile on his face. I hope we get to speak to him. Yayan Stitchbury, after going through decompression, finishes in 8th position. He's going to feel that one. Flipping heck. Tom Stanley, another tough night at the office. He's going to finish in 9th place. What about this for 10th, though, Ed? Is Jack Reeve going to be able to get Stuart Clark to the line here with this run?
He's going to try, but I don't think he's going to have enough in the tank. Stuart Clark in the Stuart is able to score some much needed points for himself and the team. Jack Reeves in the Arrow as well. Points for him and the team in 11th place. In the final point scoring position going the way of Matt Hoyland. Martin Kenyon just was not able to close that gap down in those dying moments, but a few mistakes from Matt Hoyland kept that dream alive.
And Jesper Eriksson, 2 wins out of 2 here in Boremula 1. He's won races before. He got his first win towards the end of Season 2. And now, look at this, flying formation from our top few finishers. Jake Cranstone gives him a bit of a drive-by, sort of wave and a hello, I'm sure. But that was a very commanding drive for Jesper Eriksson. Not the usual drama that we see of everybody changing places. But Jesper just kept that so clean, didn't he, Ed? That was excellent.
Really impressive there. That sort of kick on in those final 10 laps. That was something else from Jesper. He just seemed to almost be playing with Sam Fitzpatrick for the 40 laps that went before.
Crazy
He's
stuff.
just able to really turn on the pace like that at a moment's notice. But, well, that was a very entertaining race, wasn't it, Chaz? Again, the Boremula 1 World Championship never disappoints.
It never does. And Jesper Eriksson will be a very happy man after that result. Aaron Smith will be happy that his internet held on in the end, to be honest. Let's have a look at the race result then before we have some interviews. It is Jesper Eriksson taking his 2nd race victory of the season. Sam Fitzpatrick finished in 2nd place, another podium for Sam and more big points for Benetton. Lee Aberdeen gets a McLaren on the podium ahead of Jake Cranstone in 4th, and Taylor Adams completes the top 5. McLaren the only team with 2 drivers in the top 5. Aaron Smith finishes in 6th with Christian Rose, definitely my driver of the day. It's not something we do really, but Christian returning with a 7th place from 20th on the grid. Yayan Stitchbury finishes in 8th after coming back from space. Tom Stanley in 9th with some good points for Williams, and Stuart Clark gets the top 10. 2 Stewarts in the points.
Arrows gets Jack Reeve in 11th place ahead of Matt Hoyland's Jordan in 12th. Martin Kenyon, unlucky 13, just misses out on points. Same too for John Tusting and Ben Chelcraft. Connor Hatfield and Francois Brandet were both one lap down, with Simon Price not finishing. Danny Weir not finishing, although he did actually hop back into outdo his teammate, I believe, just to overtake Philip Miles. Then Kevin Zemstra with that unfortunate disconnect, and Rob Lundgren, after incidents early on, did not finish the race. Well, Ed, your first taste of Boremula 1 Season 3, what did you make of that as a return to the commentary box in this series? It's just as fun as it always was, isn't it?
Just as fun as it always was. It was like I'd never left. It was great to be back, and obviously we're going to be exchanging duties, won't we, Chaz, over the course of the season between, I think it's myself and, just going to check through, isn't it, Paul, going to be taking the reins. So hopefully we've kept the seat warm for him. It'll be him, I think, in a couple of weeks' time. But tell you what, it's a very exciting round coming up, isn't it, next time out? But of course, we've got some drivers to have a quick chat to first before we go looking forward to a Mosport in 2 weeks.
I've just had a message off Christian Rose. He's just put because he's absolutely buzzing after that race. In fact, we'll drag him in for a quick word now. Christian, I mean, I've just explained your first message back to me, just with the excitement that you had from that one. What a return, mate. You must be buzzing.
Oh, mate, that was such a fun race. That was so much fun. It's the first few laps was getting used to it again, and then, it was just, back in the groove.
Just turned it on and cracked on. So big points for Stuart as the super sub. But what did you find the driving was like amongst these guys? They've all dialed it in, haven't they? Now it's lovely, good fun.
You've got to be on it every lap. It's you literally got to find the extra 100th every lap just to try and make the small gains. And we got held up a little bit at the beginning, but I sort of expected that coming from the back. Feel sorry for Ewan at the end there.
Yeah, he had his own little Benetton sprays program to contend with. We know that Flavio Briatore was quite extravagant in the 90s, but Jesus, that's pushing it a bit far. Do you reckon this will... Well, I don't know. I don't even know what to ask, because it sort of kick-started a fire in you again. I know you wanted to get back into it for a while.
Oh, mate, don't. I really, really want to. I want back in big time. This is so much fun.
Well, it's great to have you, even on the reserve list, Shifty. It's fantastic to see you out there on the circuit. I did have to try and not sound biased all evening, but it really is lovely after you were a stalwart of the first series and obviously came back again. It's just lovely to see it, mate. And obviously, congratulations on Littlin as well. We did mention it earlier in the show, but yeah, any final words before we toss you back into the whirlpool?
Yeah, no, once again, thanks to you, Chaz, for organising this all. It's so much fun, getting back into league racing and sim racing itself, really. Thanks very much.
It's our pleasure, Shifty. Great to speak to you, mate. Well done once again, and hopefully we'll see you at another round in the future.
Cheers. Take care. Well, hopefully no one's ill, but yeah.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Christian Rose there, man. You could hear the smile on his face, couldn't you? You could hear it beaming across him. Bless him. What a bloke. But what an excellent drive. 20th on the grid, no qualifying time on the board due to prior commitments. But then, to get big points on the board for Stuart, they'll be very pleased with him.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an infectious, isn't it? When you can hear a driver grinning like that after a race. And to be fair, he deserves to be grinning from ear to ear after an amazing performance coming up from but was basically the back of the grid to drive through and get some strong points for Stuart. In fact, actually, I think both of them finishing in the points this Stuart. So, a lovely haul of points before, Stuart Clark to leave the evening with. Like you said, for certain. We've just dragged someone in mid-conversation, and I think, Chaz, it's your turn for a chat with Sam Fitzpatrick.
Yes, indeed. Sam, welcome to the booth, mate. Sorry for interrupting you, but what are your thoughts after that one? You spent a long time looking at the word Winfield, didn't you?
Yeah. I mean, I was pretty on edge, and now that you just ended my conversation, it might just tip me over, honestly, into pure anger, because that was tiring. That was so tiring. I mean, credit to Jesper. He absolutely deserved that 1,000,000%, because he delivered in qualifying. I could not match that qualifying time, and I was barely keeping up in the tow. it was just so tough. I mean, like, you're talking about like 47 qualifying laps, but if you slide, then that's like 3/10 gone, then you're going to lose another 2/10 on the next corner. It's probably going to wreck the tyres as well. So like it was so fine margins for such a long time, and like Jesper just had that extra pace on me, so I really well deserved win.
These longer races have seemed to add a bit more of a Grand Prix element to themselves now, don't they, with the added distance and looking after the tyres and just the fatigue of how hard this car is to drive for this long. Do you feel that that's going to sort of level the playing field a bit, or show certain drivers that can shine in longer races?
I think it's going to spread it out. Like, I think I think it will spread it out. There's more opportunities for mistakes. I think the main thing today was how weak the draft was. Like at Phillip Island, you could probably gain 6/10 a lap if you're in the draft, whereas around here, I'm not sure how much I was getting. It was probably like a 10th or 2, I reckon, in the draft. So it was you actually had to push in order to keep up. And I mean, like when we're dropping Lee, like that sort of demonstrates how small the slipstream is, because Lee's absolutely rapid, and yet he just fell like 1.3 seconds back, and from that point he just fell a little bit too far and lost the draft. So I think I'm a big fan of these less drafty circuits. It sort of means that it's a bit less chaotic and a bit less
NASCAR-like, isn't it?
yeah, and I think last time at Phillip Island I was just happy to finish in a reasonable place, whereas today I think second place was where I was going to finish 9 times out of 10, I think.
Well, it certainly looked like an exciting chase all the same, Sam, and you kept it on the straight and narrow well enough for some big championship points. Is there anyone you'd like to give a thanks to before we let you go?
Thanks to Apex Racing Simulators again. Of course, I am using their simulators in the Apex Racing Sim Centre in Corby.
Lovely.
So if anyone wants to check out the VRS rigs, then do head over to Corby, check out apexracingsim.com. Thanks to Jack and Aaron for keeping me company during the race. It was good to have the company throughout the event, and of course thanks to you guys for doing fantastic commentary. I'm sure I'll watch it back a bit. It'll probably be quite boring from my perspective. And once again, just once again, well done to Jesper, because that was an immense drive, and I can't stress enough how well he drove and how I think he was a level above everyone else today.
Well, thank you very much, Sam. It's always a pleasure to hear from you, and well done on the points again, and hopefully we'll see you in 2 weeks' time at Motorsport.
Yes, I look forward to it. See you then.
Cheers. Well, there we go. Sam Fitzpatrick, very political answer, but at the end of the day, he was pushing hard, and it's interesting to see how little the slipstream was around here tonight. It did spread out, didn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's a lot of the time because at Phillip Island, it's a bit more of a higher speed circuit, even if the straights aren't as long, because you're carrying a lot more speed out of the corners. You're getting to the top end, or sort of the higher RPM range, where the slipstream starts to benefit the drivers a lot more than whereas here you're coming out of a lot more slower speed corners, so it takes a while to get up to those speeds where the slipstream is its most effective. But it's a great little insight that we get from the drivers, isn't it, Chaz? It's not something that we'd necessarily think about until it sort of gets brought up to our attention after the fact.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that the circuit makes such a difference in cars like this. But we now move on to our race winner, Jesper. 2 out of 2. I mean, you were buzzing after the first one at Phillip Island. You must be even happier with that one, because that looked a lot more pace dependent, that one.
Yeah, for sure, that was a lot more pace dependent. But I'm so exhausted of this one. It was a more raw pace race, but the tire strategy was absolutely killing me.
I was going to ask, actually, I forgot to ask Sam, what was the state of the tyre like towards the end of the race? Was it destroyed?
Basically, yeah, the rear tires were destroyed. It was in the last sector. It was so hard keeping the car in check on entry, and just seeing how the car rotates. It's so difficult, but it's so much fun. I really, really enjoy this combo.
I was going to say, because we came to you a few times even earlier on in the race, and you were kicking the back end out and sliding around like mad, and we wondered if you were just having fun with it. It certainly looked like it was a car that was on edge tonight, but if you knew where that limit was, you could really dance the thing around, couldn't you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think this I noticed a lot of this in this race, that when you feel the car stepping out, you need to go a bit on the throttle to get the rear to set. Then the car just sticks throughout the corner.
Well, it certainly looked like a lot of fun, Jesper, and obviously 2 wins out of 2 now in the championship. You must be very happy with how things have started before we have a nice week break now before Mosport.
I'm definitely delighted about this. So happy. And to Barris, congrats to Sam as well. He definitely checked me up a bit, just having him behind me. It was quite scary at times. But yeah, looking forward to Mosport. Gonna be a lot like Phillip Island, I guess, with the restricted fleet racing. But looking forward to it.
Yeah, it should be fun. I think the twisty bits will sort out some of the drivers a little bit. But either way, anyone you want to give a thanks to before we let you go?
First, all the competitors, and of course you guys. So happy to be here. And such fun series to race.
We're glad you're enjoying it, Jesper. Well done again on big points, and we'll see you at Mosport. Cheers.
Thanks, boys.
Well, Jesper Eriksson, you can hear he's almost out of breath as the interview goes on, but it's not surprising. It sounds like these guys have had to work ridiculously hard to get to where they were tonight, and I mean the pace of that Williams and Jesper behind the wheel was just completely unbeatable this evening. Excellent drive.
Yeah, that was a really impressive, and I think it was that little kick on that was at the end, those final sort of 10-7 laps. Really, I think, sort of sealed the deal for what was a brilliant race evening for Jesper Eriksson. He's going from strength to strength, round upon round, and I don't really think that Sky could be the limit for him, and especially with the form that he showed here tonight. I don't know if many drivers could beat him.
Well, we'll have to wait and see, won't we? We have now a week off before the next round at Mosport, where we will have round 3 of the CDM Boremula 1 World Championship. Thanks once again to Bottle of Scotch Racing and, of course, Derbyshire Holiday Homes, the championship sponsors. Thanks also to JL Race Aesthetics. And thanks to you, Ed May, for joining me in the commentary box, and everybody for watching at home. We hope you've enjoyed the first 2 rounds of the series. It's certainly shown us the contrast between one circuit to the next. But next time at Mosport, it should be more chaos and pack racing. It'll be a hell of a lot of fun. Thanks as always for joining us, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time.
And look at Jochen Hahn and Antonio Albacete. The 2 of them go flying through the right-hand side, then the left-hand side. Jochen Hahn around the outside, and Lucas Hahn, no father and son, come together on the exit of turn 1.
And the best thing about this is the fact that it's still a 15-minute sprint race. They've not extended the time of the race. It's still just like, it's going to be, 7 laps of Spa-Francorchamps?
We get to the real nitty-gritty of motorsport.
Crymsun and Smith are side by side for the title in the very final race of the season. As they go back up the hill towards the Schumacher. Nils Kor clips the back at 10. Simon Povey clips the side of Nils Kor. They go over the hill and Povey's around. Oh my god, that's going to definitely be the thumbnail when it hit me in the right direction. Thank you so much.
23 cars.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Goes to the right, Silas goes to the left, across the line, it's going to be... Which one's it going to be in 6? Tim's going to get it to the line, he's not going to get it. Oh no, Pete Newton's around.
Pretty tight, Jake Blackwell round the outside, he's going to keep it there, and now he's going to be on the inside.
day. Simon Price sees a gap in the middle, decides that no, that would be mental. Big accident, Simon. Cam Dance wins. Still has Craig Frolic wins. Jake Blackhall wins. Cranstone to take the win on his Jesper Eriksson. 2-time champion of the CDM Formula One World Championship is Cam Dance. And what a fantastic race. Amazing. Oh my God, I've missed this.